Okay, here I'm going to work on some proofs from section I of chapter 8. There are only 4 practice proofs here, so I'm just going to do a couple of them and leave a couple for you to work on your own. I'll start with the very first one. I've already written down the conclusion here. It says, if C then not B and B, then not C. It looks very long and complicated, and the section I proofs can seem very strange at first because you don't have any premises. These are just logical truths. They're true no matter what. So I can't prove them, or to show that they're logical truths, I'm not going to prove them based on any premises. So how do I establish that this conclusion is true without relying on any evidence, without any premises at all? Well, that can seem very strange, but the way to tackle these problems is actually fairly straightforward. If I don't have anything to work with, then I have to introduce it. I have to make a certain assumption to get everything started. I'm only allowed to make assumptions for conditional proofs and indirect proofs. And the way that I proceed is, if I see that this is conditional, then I'm looking at maybe using conditional proof. Otherwise, I'm looking to see if I can use indirect proof. Okay, this is a conditional statement here, so I'm going to assume the antecedent and try to show that the consequent follows. So my first line actually will be in the dashboard homework. It has the conclusion written on what it calls line 1, so it'll actually make you start with line 2. But just to follow the dashboard here, I'll start with line 2. I'll call this line 1 up here, right? Even though it's empty. So line 2 would be where I would assume my antecedent up there. So if C, then not B, and B. And now that's going to be the assumption for conditional proof. And now what I need to do is I need to show that from this, not C follows. Right? Well, I look and I see there's C right there. It's in the antecedent of this conditional. Right? And I know, of course, I can simplify and get this conditional by itself. So I have C right there as the antecedent of the conditional. I want to prove at this point not C for my conditional proof. I want to prove not C. And so that suggests to me that when I work through this, I'm going to use modus tollens to get not C. Right? Modus tollens will give me the negation of the antecedent. So I'm thinking about how to use modus tollens. If I'm going to use modus tollens, I need to know that the consequent is false. I need to know not B, right? But of course, as we know by now, with double negation, not B is equivalent to B. And if you look right here, I'm told that B is true. So I can simplify and get B, use double negation to get not B, get this by itself by simplification as well, and then use modus tollens to get not C, and my conditional proof will be done. It's a little complicated, but the basic steps are all familiar by now. So let me just start with line 3. I will simplify to get this conditional. I want to go ahead and get that set up. So I'm going to say if C then not B. That's from line 2, simplification. Right. I also know that B is true, again from line 2, simplification. Right. Now B is equivalent to not B, and that's from line 4, double negation. Right. Not B tells me, along with line 3, that not C. That's from 3 and 5, modus tollens. Right. And now notice I've gotten to the conclusion I was looking for. Right? I've gotten that if the antecedent is true, then the consequent is true in my conclusion. All right? And notice as well, this again probably looked like a very daunting proof. I mean, you just open it up and look at it and see that very long, very challenging conclusion, no premises given to work with. But if you'll notice, once I made my assumption, all my moves from there were fairly simple, very familiar things: simplification, double negation, modus tollens. By now, these should be very comfortable working with these, hopefully at least. So even though it looked like a very, very difficult proof, once you made the assumption, if you just sort of looked to see how you get to not C, everything started to fall in place. At least I hope it did. So now I just bracket that off again, mark that off, and come back over and have line 7 is my big long conclusion here. Right? If C, then not B, and B, then not C. That's from lines 2 through 6, right? Conditional proof. So there's the whole thing, right? And again, no premises given to me, but I was able to get the conclusion anyway.